Hey guys, today we're gonna talk about the most mysterious myth on the earth, the lost city of Atlantis. If you're interested in it, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and put thumbs up so it will motivate me. Also, this is my third time I am recording this video. Don't forget to grab some water and your crackers so that it will be more interesting eating and listening to me. Before further ado, let's dive into this video. A legend of Atlantis originates from an ancient Egyptian and the Greek lawmaker Solon, who recorded this information when he was visiting Egypt some 2600 years ago, and then he passed this information through 6 generations straight to Plato, who then recorded and published the account of Atlantis in Timaeus and Critias dialogues. And that's the only reason why we know about this legend and myth today. According to Plato, the king of Atlantis was named Atlas. He was the firstborn child of Poseidon, and as you know, Poseidon was a god of seas and oceans, and he had 5 pairs of twins. They were ruling the 10 provinces of Atlantis, and obviously Atlas was ruling the capital of Atlantis, since Atlantis was named after him, as well as Atlantic Ocean. Now please remember that information because we're gonna talk about this in depth later in this video. But before talking about that, let me tell you about this legend. The legend of Atlantis dates back over 2000 years ago to an ancient Greece, where the famous, well-known philosopher Plato had first mentioned about this fabled island. He described Atlantis as near as perfect paradise. He says that Atlantis was located in the Atlantic Ocean, just near to Pillars of Hercules, and that it was larger than Libya and Asia together. Also, according to him, people of Atlantis were living 11,000 years ago before he was born. Basically, this island existed way before he was even born. And also he says that the people of Atlantis, they were very rich and very powerful. They had really developed civilization like we do have right now. For example, we have gadgets and cars and helicopters and all those electronic things. They also did have, but they didn't use, let's say, electricity as the way to power up something, but they used something else. I don't know for sure what, but it was described that it was really developed country or island or city. If you have watched Aquaman, you can actually see some portion of Atlantis which was like way before, and then they show that they have type of really huge robots and helicopters, I guess. So that was described by Plato. And then, as the story goes, being very rich and powerful wasn't really enough for greedy people of Atlantis, so they started conquering some countries. Their armies eventually conquered Africa as far as Egypt and Europe as far as Tyrannia, Etruscan, I don't know how to pronounce it right, but Etruscan Italy. And then they decided to conquer the most ancient Greek city, Athens. But did they little know that it was a huge mistake. The Greeks managed to beat the attack, and Atlantis was punished harshly by the gods for their greed. Plato states that there were violent earthquakes, floods, and destruction, and in just one day and night of disaster, the whole island sank into the sea, disappearing forever into the briny depths of the ocean. It's a tragic tale to be sure, but is it real? Did it really exist? Is it true? If it did exist, where it was, what terrible event destroyed it, and so on. Those are the questions that always asked by people. And if it did really happen, where is it now? Is it really under the ocean? We don't know, but there are tons of theories about Atlantis, and few of them tend to rise to the top. So the first theory states that It's basically more possible that Atlantis did really sink into the ocean. This idea was put forth in 1882 book that argued Atlantis sank beneath the waves in the exact spot that Plato said it did, Pillars of Hercules, the two rocks that mark the entrance to the Mediterranean Sea. Another theory states that Atlantis is just an ancient and much less icy Antarctica. Yes, Antarctica. According to the theory, Earth's crust shifted suddenly 12,000 years ago, pushing Antarctica from its ancient spot in the middle of the ocean all the way down to where it is today. The temperatures there really cold, so Atlantis maybe was buried under the ice and snow. But modern science proves that the chances are slim to none that the whole big island such as Atlantis could sink into the ocean or just shift way down to where Antarctica is now. So those theories are out, and the final theory is the most popular one and really hurting one. Most experts agree that Atlantis didn't actually exist. Instead, Plato made up this story as a way to teach people and tell them that if you become greedy, that can happen to you too. Or maybe he was just bored, like literally bored, making up the story, making up the island about like precise description. And on top of that, there are no known records of Atlantis existing outside of Plato's description and teaching. And no other ancient Greek writers mention anything about this legend. So yes, that's the basic story and the background of Atlantis. But those theories didn't really satisfy me because I am so in love with this myth and I really love to talk about this topic even though I'm doing it for a third time. So I was like, let me do a little bit of search deeply. So I found out more information. And we're gonna get to it right now. Okay, do you remember what I told you in the beginning of the video? Now please remember that because we're almost there. There is a group of people that used to be referred to Maori people or Berber people as nowadays they're called. In fact, those people were from Northwest Africa. This region before was known as Maori, but now it's known as Maghreb. This region includes Algeria, Libya, and Mauritania. Mauritania. Remember that name because it's really important. In fact, the name Mauritania comes from Maori people. Now, do you know who was the first king of Mauritania? Just guess. It just happened to be the legendary king named Atlas. Atlas was the first king of Mauritania. I mean, there is no way that Atlas was a king of Atlantis because there is no way that Atlantis was located in Africa. But just hold that information too. So there was a Greek and ancient historian named Herodotus, also known as father of history. He was born nearly 75 years after Solon had died, and then Herodotus died when Plato was just two years old. So there is no way that these three people would meet each other, whether Solon met Herodotus or Herodotus met Plato. One of Herodotus' most notable achievements is developing the map of the world of 450 BC. In this map we can clearly see India, the Mediterranean Sea, the countries that surrounded it, and others. What I mean is that, just remember those notable features because we know these countries right now and they still exist. And now let's see another version of this map. Look at the left of the map. What can you see? If you found the word Atlantis or Atlantis, which is shown to be located south of the Pillars of Hercules and positioned in northwest Africa. You can also notice on this map the detailing of the mountain chain, which are known as Atlas Mountains today. Atlas Mountains today, which is also known as the home of Berber people or Maori people. And these mountains, in fact, were named after Atlas, obviously. Can any mountain be named after me, please? Now let's sum up this information. We have the map of 450 BC, which was made 2,500 years ago, and according to that map, Atlantis was located at the exact location of Mauritania, where the king of Mauritania was named Atlas, son of Poseidon. And this map was made by the most known historian, who would collect his materials systematically, test their accuracy to a certain extent, and arrange them in a well constructed and vivid detail. Then we have one photo, which is really incredible structure, and this structure was found out in Mauritania. So this structure was actually found out way ago in 1930s, I guess, but not the photo, but just the place. And it was discussed by the experts, what is it, where did it come from, and so on. But I don't know for sure if it was discussed about Atlantis or no. However, this picture was taken on May of 2014 by the satellite. And then if you look closely, you can see that there are really clear 5 rings, like concentric circles. Plato also stated that Atlantis had 5 concentric circles, and it consists of precise amount of rings. 2 would be of land and 3 of water. And on top of that, it just happens to be the precise size of what Plato had stated. Here's the size what Plato had stated and the size of this structure, which is also called as Eye of Africa and Richard structure or Atlantis. It also has an opening to the south that would be the description of Atlantis, and it was connected to the sea. And in fact, if you look at this picture, you can see that once it had opening to the sea. And what was described by Plato is that in north, Atlantis had mountains, and in south, the opening to the sea. And even more significantly is that the center island of this structure has the fresh spring water, even though the other surroundings, they produce salt water but not fresh, which is the evidence that this structure or island, this place, was once under the ocean and now it's up again. How? I don't know, I'm not a geologist, but yes, these all similarities seem to be the huge evidence of Atlantis' existence. Just look, we have the map of the world of 450 BC, which was detailed by the Greek historian Herodotus, and we have Plato's, Timaeus, and Critias books. The information that he got from his grandpa, and his grandpa somehow got this information from Solon, who learned this information while he was visiting Egypt, and this information was passed to him from Egyptian priest. So priest told Solon, Solon somehow shared this information with Plato's grandpa, and then Plato's grandpa told to Plato, and then Plato published the account of Atlantis. And also all the details as centric circles consisting of 3 rings of water and 2 rings of land, and mountains in the north and the opening to the sea in the south. And also all the measurements just happen to be exact. So yes, those evidence really satisfy me right now, so I'm waiting for more information to come up in the future. But yes, that's what I've got. I thought this information is really interesting and important and really precise and has a lot of evidence, so I shared it with you because I really loved it. And if you want to discuss about this topic more, we can discuss in the comment section. Maybe someone has another theory, maybe in other countries people found some trace of Atlantis, because it did really happen that in another continent people did find evidence of Atlantis existence. But that's all for my story for today, and if you liked it, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and don't forget to turn on your bell notification so you won't miss my new videos, which are really random sometimes because I tend to talk about everything what I like to talk about. And don't forget to put huge thumbs up so it will motivate me to do more videos on this type of topics. Thank you and see you in the next video. Bye!